So I'm a veteran of a lot of different fandom spaces at this point in time, and I don't really believe in power scaling anymore. Like in most of these fantasy settings, there are definitely like tiers of abilities, but once you get past that into a certain level, which like most of the main characters are on, it just sort of becomes like whoever needs to win in a moment wins in a moment, and then you come up with the how after the fact. That's just good narrative writing. Now, all of that said, I happen to personally believe that Zahir is a pretty bad airbender and got carried by some plot armor in a lot of places. Is Zahir a good villain? Absolutely. He's one of my favorite villains because not only is he a complete bastardization of Aang and his relationship to his own little gang of Red Lotus misfits, but he really embodies, as I said before, the epitome of like this misunderstanding and high focus of airbending philosophy. It's brilliant. And is he a skilled fighter and really brilliant tactician in terms of like his own place in the lore? Absolutely as well, right? Like he's very scrappy and he was taking on benders before he had any powers. But other than the extremist application of his view of airbending philosophy that allows him to fly, he really is not so good at all the forms and disciplines. And I think to an extent that should be expected, right? Like he doesn't have an airbending teacher. He kind of just picked it up and applied it to his own fighting style. One of the things that I find really intriguing is the way that he emphasizes a lot of kicks rather than this kind of rotation that a lot of airbenders have. It tends to make him look more like a firebender in a lot of regards. And the only time I ever really saw him do the things that airbenders do was against Kaya. And people often talk about the fact that it's like nobody knows how to fight airbenders because there's really just like, you know, Tenzin. And he takes advantage of that in a lot of ways where he just waits for them to make the first move and then just gets to react. And you can even see narratively how much it affects them, right? Like every single time he gets one of those off, it's because they try to attack an airbender linearly and you just can't do that. But the thing that really shows that he's not really that like highly disciplined is his fight with Tenzin. In what is ostensibly the only real airbender duel in the entirety of both series, Tenzin just completely hounds him and sauces him. Like, on the one hand, it's definitely impressive that Zahir is able to pick up some of the basics of airbending just from osmosis, but the fact of the matter is, like, genius will always get defeated by hard work every time, because there are 1,000 geniuses that came before you who figured out these same things, had them tested by other geniuses, and then they determined methods to deal with it. The things that caught other benders off guard will never catch Tenzin because Tenzin knows all of the lore and history. Of course, the Tenzin fight ends the same way that almost all of Zahir's fights end, with him getting bailed out by the rest of his crew. And this is the thing that I find both very interesting and really narratively compelling about Zahir, is that Zahir never takes a fair fight with the Avatar the entirety of his arc, and that's something that Aang would have done as well. Like, consider the fact that one of the biggest strengths of both Aang and Korra is their teamwork with their friends and family. In one of the most beautiful narrative reflections of both series, the same thing that bails out the protagonists over and over again is the same thing that bails out Korra's antagonist. But that's a conversation for a different video. All I want to finish saying here is when it comes to like being a skilled bender, Zahir is a little bitch.